Hello, everyone. I am Earl Arms, host of Black Nouveau on Milwaukee PBS. And right now, I'm going to be the co-moderator of this session of Listen MKE. Now, Listen Milwaukee is a community project and partnership between the Ideas Lab of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, WUWM 89.7 FM, Milwaukee's NPR, the Milwaukee Public Library, and Milwaukee PBS. Now we're talking about COVID-19, which has had a disproportionate effect on the Black community, and we have folks that are dying from this virus, many folks that are dying from this virus. And many of the survivors, though, they face unique physical and mental challenges after that diagnosis. So we're going to talk with 5 members of the Milwaukee community that's been affected and kind of have that candid conversation. One of those people is right here with me, Arnitta Holiman, a licensed professional counselor, and kind of the motivation of this conversation. So Arnitta, thank you so much for joining us. Just what are your thoughts going into this conversation?
Thank you for having me, Earl. My thoughts are that there's a lot going on right now, and COVID has really devastated communities in many ways, and particularly the Black community. But I thought it was important that we have this conversation and really spend some time talking about how it's affecting our mental health.
So glad that we're doing this, and you're going to lead the conversation with these 4 folks. State Representative David Bowen, he's on the call. Also, political consultant Arkesia Jackson. We also have the Reverend Greg Lewis, assistant pastor at St. Gabriel's Church of God in Christ, and Simmone Kilgore, a licensed professional counselor. So thank you all for joining us. Arnitta, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you all for agreeing to be a part of this conversation. I'm excited for us to have this convo today, and we're going to have a candid conversation with each other about our experiences. And so just to ask first, what were your thoughts when you first learned that you were positive for COVID-19?
I guess I'll go ahead and go first. I think I got COVID very much in the beginning of the spread of the contraction across the state. So I think a lot of people put a face to a name that was somebody that they actually knew that had the virus. I ended up contracting it from also another local person in my district in a cafe, ironically. And to that point, it really was a myth in a lot of people's minds of if it was even real. And it was talked about, especially from the president of the United States, as if it was a hoax or as if it wasn't that big of a deal. So a lot of my mind thoughts just ran around like trying to really shape that this actually is impacting folks in our community and right in our own backyards, and then realizing that it's actually having that effect.
Yeah. Thanks, Representative David. Simmone, what was your experience? What were your thoughts?
I think for me in particular, when I felt that I had contracted the virus, I wasn't sure how, because I had practiced, social distancing and wearing my mask and being careful with cleaning my hands. I was in my house so much working from home. And so I just been in the house like Lysol and bleach and gloves, and I really hadn't had a lot of contact with people. I wasn't really sure, and to this date, I'm not sure where I contracted it from. However, when I first felt like I had it, it was 2 days prior diagnosed by a medical professional. And the first thing I thought was, of course, people live through this. And this is not a specific death sentence. And I did not want to get so sick that I needed to be hospitalized. Because at that time, kind of what Representative David Bowen just spoke about was, the impact that it had on the community and all the things you hear on the news. And so it made me feel like people that went to the hospital had a harder time recovering. And so that was in my mind at the time, although we've learned so much more since that time. I was afraid to have it, but also to be around any loved ones, folks that I might see in passing. I just didn't know the impact. But I know physically, I felt horrible. I had never felt anything like it in life before, which is why I was so sure that it was COVID-19.
Yeah, I contracted it from a family member. And so it was, I already had symptoms by the time my cousin found out she was positive and she let us know. I was wearing my mask at the time, so I know exactly when it was. And so my first thoughts were, oh my God, who am I going to tell about this? And two, I was concerned about my other family. I just didn't want other people to be positive. And so that was definitely a concern for me. Arkesia, how about you? What were your initial thoughts?
It was a interesting ordeal. I come from a background where most of the women in my family are nurses. So we already had a conversation on what to do to make sure your lungs, we knew. My sister called and explained to us what the virus was, what it is rather. And she already said, this is what you need to do for your breathing treatment, and you need to exercise. Just start exercising. So I was doing all the precautions and I thought I was well. But on March 27th is a day I would never forget, where I couldn't breathe. Mm. And I was frantic at the time. I couldn't breathe. And so I knew I worked for the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. So I reached out to my employers like, hey, I think I have it. Where can I go get a test? Because the organization was very engaged on making sure that we were up to date. So I reached out to them and they encouraged me to go to the ER. I went to the emergency room. And at the time, they didn't have enough tests and I didn't have any pre-existing conditions. But they told me most likely I have it and go home and take 2 Tylenols and separate from the family. And during that time, I was really upset because all I wanted to do was breathe. And I knew what was coming, all the information that was coming out from the president of the United States at the time was inaccurate, because my sister did a family call to educate us on what the virus is and how to take care of yourself. And during that time, all I kept thinking is, because during the whole time I was struggling breathing, and then I started having all the other symptoms, constant headache, extreme fatigue, where my blanket was so heavy for me to even, cover myself up once the blanket, fell off. I knew during that ordeal, I could not die. I did not want to die because of the misinformation about this virus. And I just used to just pray and pray and pray that I will overcome it. So it was a challenging moment.
Wow. Thank you. Pastor Lewis, how about you?
Well, when at first I was getting sick, and I went to the clinic, and they treated me for some other illnesses, bronchitis, and they gave me a 5-pack of treatment for bronchitis. And after that, I felt even worse. And and I'm not one that really, I go to the doctor a lot. My wife is always complaining about that. But I went I called the doctor because we couldn't go out anywhere. I called the doctor, and the doctor told me that I should go get a test, and they set it all up. And then after that, I got my results, and I was devastated because I knew it might mean that, death for me. I'm diabetic, and I'm 62 years old, and I was devastated when they told me that. I almost, but they told me to just lay around and rest and take plenty of Tylenol, drink plenty of liquids. And I was laying there and I was dying. I told my wife, I said, baby, I'm dying, and so we got a invitation to go to the hospital, and I took it. And when I got there, the doctors, they asked me 3 questions. They said, "Are you, do you have all your business in order?" I was like, wow. I said, yeah, who's going to take care of it? I said, my wife. Then they asked me, if you stop breathing, do you want us to resuscitate you? And I was like, huh? And then, the doctor said, that's okay, because if you become unconscious, we won't be able to resuscitate you. And, I was, they expected me to die. But what I didn't know is that not only did I have bronchitis, I had pneumonia and I had a lung infection and I'm diabetic. So they expected me to die. But, I didn't, because they filled me up with antibiotics and the rest of the stuff, was resolved with the antibiotics. But I fought off the COVID-19 with my own body. So, that was important, And then the third thing the doctor told me was that if you don't do exactly what we say, you're going to die. And, I said, wow, they had counted me out. But, I'm also the executive director, Souls to the Polls. And, and it's something I want people to know. Until you are dead, you need to make sure you take care of your business. You need to keep fighting for whatever it is that you're fighting for. So I told them, you might think I'm dying, but keep that phone in here because I still got work to do with our Souls to the Polls. So, I was, I was there messed up, but, I thought I was going to die, and I probably would have if I not got to the hospital on March 27th. I would have died.
I'm so glad you're still here. We're glad you're still here. And I can only imagine what that felt like in those moments to hear that you were potentially going to die.
Yes.
And that you would not be resuscitated if you did. And so that's a great segue really into us talking about like the mental health impact or the toll that it takes on our mental health. And so, experts are naming mental health as the next pandemic. Simmone, I really would like you to kick us off, just really talking about what your experience was in terms of the mental and emotional toll having COVID-19 had on you.
Sure. As a licensed professional counselor, I work with clients every day. And some of my clients, prior to me contracting the virus, also had experienced COVID-19 and the symptoms. And so as a therapist, I was working every day to try to encourage folks to definitely do what the doctors say, to try to turn the news off or the media surrounding COVID-19, because like many of us have mentioned, the information that comes in the airways and to our ears and our brains, it floods us. And even if we think that it's not affecting us, the news and the information affects us every day. There, as a therapist, you try to separate yourself from some of the things that you're doing for work purposes. However, working with clients daily, trying to encourage them and lift their spirits. Once I realized that I had contracted the virus, I had to do the same for myself to try to lift my spirits and not over worry. But to talk mostly about the impact that it had on me mentally, it was the fear for me in particular, fear of kind of what I mentioned, not being able to be around specific people. Who's going to take care of me? Are my affairs in order? Have I said everything I needed to say to my children? And what that looks like. But the social isolation is a major issue because at that point, I hadn't contracted the virus until late September of 2020. And so at that point, I had heard of many, many, many people, loved ones and friends who had contracted it and fought through it. But the fear of knowing that you're that close to something that is taking people out in this country, in this world, is a serious fear. And so definitely depression sank in a little for me. There's social isolation, not so much the loneliness piece that I hear a lot of people talking about, because some folks don't have loved ones at home to take care of them or family members that can stop by and bring, soups and juices. I needed to stay hydrated. I do have a partner. And so he was very present for me, very, very present. But I had many friends that stopped by and dropped things off on my porch. I got a ton of calls. But what I really know that was an issue for me was fear of leaving here and not being with my loved ones. Because the isolation since the beginning of the year, and here I am in September, and I still haven't been able to be in contact with so many loved ones because we've been in quarantine, trying to be safe. And here I am feeling like my chest is about to explode. The weakness that was in my body kept me from dialing to talk to people. It kept me from texting. I was that weak. And so I was just fearful of, am I ever going to get my strength back? Am I ever going to see my loved ones and be able to spend good time with them? And so outside of fear and depression, people, there's also foggy brain syndrome. There's an issue that COVID is affecting your clarity, your ability to understand the day, the date, the time, what I'm supposed to be completing. And I still, to this day, have some symptoms of foggy brain. And I don't know another technical way to say that other than it's fogginess. It makes you feel like everything I have to do is an extra effort. I have to stay focused a little longer. And so, anybody who can agree, I see David shaking his head and Arkesia, like if you guys had that, tell me a little bit about that too, because I really went through that, Arnitta, the inability to stay focused on what's most important and what I need to do. I had to write myself notes. I did a lot of praying and a lot of focusing on the higher power who I believe in is God, because I needed to understand that I was okay and that I needed to take some moments to just take deep breaths, focus on mindfulness, being in the moment, and not so much focusing on the fear of what's to come, because you just don't know. And you'll end up driving yourself really, 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 really anxious. You'll bring anxiety in, worrying about what you can't control. And so I had to learn how to slow that train down.
Yeah. I can attest to that. I definitely experienced the anxiety. So all kinds of thoughts go through your head. There was one night in particular, I remember really struggling to breathe in the middle of the night. And it was that moment when I felt most that I was worried about dying. For the most part, I didn't have that fear. I did worry about, I worried about what people were going to think, right? So I work in the city's health department. So I work in public health. I've been on the news talking about masking up and, staying safe. And I did have on my mask at the time, but I have to be honest and say that was something that I did think about and I was concerned about. But more so, it was just the random, feelings or symptoms of anxiety. Definitely the brain fog, absolutely had that. And then just the frustration around that when I know what I want to say and the words are not coming, or I can remember something. So that was very difficult. And I'm just interested to know, Pastor Lou, Representative Bowen, Arkesia, what were the mental health, what were you feeling? What was the impact on your mental or emotional well-being?
I would like to jump in and share my experience. When I was sent home from the ER to take 2 Tylenols and separate from the family, before then I was already doing basic exercises. But when I got to the point where I couldn't get out of bed, I literally felt my body going through a process I haven't experienced before. Like felt like I was laying there dying, feeling the aches of things stop working, literally. And that played a huge mental game on me because I have a child. If I'm going, what's next? Although, he's in a young adult now, but as a parent, those kind of concerns go through your head as you feel your body shutting down. Because during COVID, I didn't have an appetite. I couldn't drink. I couldn't even get out of bed, let alone considered continuing the exercises or the breathing treatments I was giving myself. So that started playing a mental fight for me. Like I realized I had to dig deep and get into my prayer life. I'm very spiritual, and I literally had to just talk and pray and fight through it until I got the urge to stumble and go online and pull up a prayer. Literally, I had to turn on my laptop and pull up a prayer that was going to engage me spiritually, because what I was feeling during that time, I felt like I was about to leave. And that mental fight, that mental battle I had to find it deep in myself to continue fighting. And it's something I don't ever want to experience again. But when I started to become a better and I started exercising at the time, when I started getting better, I could only do 3 jumping jacks because I knew I had to start building my lungs and my breathing back up. And when I thought I felt better, I was like, oh, I could go back to work. I called myself going back to work and realized I couldn't comprehend anything. I had to accept that right now I'm still in the recovering process. And that was a challenge, a mental challenge for me. As a woman, I'm used to go, 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 work, work, work. And I really had to accept that I'm not ready to return to work. I'm not ready to be out and operating in my role because mentally and emotionally and physically, I was not ready. And that's also a hard challenge or a mental challenge to accept.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Representative Bowen.
It's interesting. I just want to jump in real quick. It's interesting how you mentioned, Arkesia, the idea that we want to go back to work. We want to return to some form of normalcy. To answer your question, Arnitta, about the mental health piece of it, you want to return to some form of normalcy. But I'm here to tell you that nothing's normal after COVID. My strength, my endurance, my mental clarity is not the same. It's different, and I'm exercising like Arkesia mentioned. I'm doing exercises. I'm exercising physically. I'm exercising my mindset. I'm being more patient with myself, though. And I'm writing things down, and I'm asking for clarity in areas that I didn't before, because I do work back in, and we can get back on some type of normalcy track, but it won't be a return to my belief.
Representative Bowen.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in. You know, one of the things I really think about, I was at the time, you know, the people around me were like downplaying this whole virus. They were like, oh, it's just the flu. So you just get it and you'll be in your house for a couple of days and you'll shake it off. And then all of a sudden it gets back to normal. No, that was not what the experience was. And particularly one of the things that really got to me was watching the CNN death ticker go higher and higher. And realizing the depth of the seriousness of how this virus can really threaten your life and how much it really can attack your body, even if you have no pre-existing conditions. So I saw a number of stories across the country where people that were younger had no previous health effects and still passed away, still lost their life to the virus, or had like serious hospitalizations as well. So that really got to me. You know, as Simmone was talking about a level of depression, it definitely was there. I think I had, because it was on the front end of the virus contracting and spreading, everybody wanted to be very cautious. So I think the minimum that they were telling you to stay quarantined was 4 weeks at that time. So I took an extra 2. So I was locked up in my apartment for about 6 weeks by myself. And, you know, I would have people that would check on me, but at a lot of times it just felt like if people were just checking on me to see if I was like dead yet, like if I passed away already. And, you know, that level of abandonment and just feeling like, okay, God, I guess this is just how I'm supposed to end this. And, you know, I'm thankful that I grew closer to God during that time, more than any other time in my life, you know, to just be able to grow in the spirit. But it's so physically, the situations that you do feel of, I couldn't even stay up. I couldn't stay awake because the flu and the height of the fever, my fever was really high. I think at about 104. And by that point, it was like, I think I need to go actually make sure I know what this is. So by that time, I actually got checked. But, you know, the depth of just not even being able to stay awake and then waking up and figure out like, well, what time is it? is it even in the day or is it night? It was very confusing. So I definitely connect with Simmone as well on that, and Arkesia. But that threatened just all these other questions of if it would ever be the same, if I'll be able to get past this, or like I said, having those conversations with God, like, okay, well, this is how it ends, and let me just go ahead and prepare to move in that direction, because it really does feel like I'm moving in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Pastor Lewis, as you think about your own mental well-being, we know that faith and spirituality is a method for coping and for making meaning making and staying connected. But there have been a lot of people of faith that have lost their battle with COVID, and so I'm just wondering, how did it affect your mental health? Were you hearing from people in your church or outside, in the larger faith community around the impact that it had on their mental and emotional well-being?
Yeah, I think about a couple of things. When I was in ICU, I had about 6 friends die while I was laying there in ICU because I kept my phone and they were texting me, letting me know what was going on the outside. But my faith kind of kept me stabilized. If you're not a person of faith, you might not understand what I'm telling you now, or you may not even believe it. But I had this light come into my room, and I was looking around and I was making sure. I said, "Man, is this real?" See, I'm very much changed now because of what I saw on March 27th. I saw that it came into my room, and I asked myself, "Man, are you afraid?" And I was not afraid to die. It was my faith. And I just told God, whatever you want to do is all right with me. But and then I told my wife, I said, I'm dying. I said, honey, I'm dying. And she started hollering and screaming and all that kind of stuff. And she said, get up, you're not sick, and all that, because she didn't want to believe that I was about to die, but I was dying. And at that point, a friend of mine called his friend, who was the head doctor in the emergency room at Freighter, and his friend and gave the number to my wife. They called my wife and talked to her and talked to me and told her to call 911 right away. And that's how I got there. But, I was not afraid of dying. I'm going to tell you, I was afraid after I couldn't walk. I couldn't taste anything. I couldn't eat. I didn't eat for 3 weeks. If I picked up a bottle of water, it felt like a 20-pound weight. All I could do was lay there, or else I would be sore from just moving because I was so fatigued and I was totally debilitated. And I didn't know how sick I was, but my faith kind of kept me, going. And, I had a call from the hospital the other day, and she was talking about how people have these things going on after all this COVID, and how, she was expecting me to be going through some of the post-traumatic syndromes of COVID. And I told her that, my trust in God was so strong that I just didn't feel like, that, it was anything that I couldn't overcome. And so my mental state was good, but physically, I know I'm not fully healed. From March till now, my respiratory system is not really as strong as it used to be. Even when you holler, as a preacher, sometimes you want to holler and you just can't holler. You start to cough, and I said, wow, I might never be the same. So in saying that, I'm going to say this. When I was dying, I was not afraid. But when I found out I was going to live, I was scared to death because I said, I'm never going to be the same. I was totally frightened when they said, you're going to be okay. I said, wow, am I going to be like this? Because I couldn't walk and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even go to the bathroom. I couldn't do anything. I thought I was going to be like that the rest of my life, but I recovered to the point I am now. Otherwise, man, I was afraid to death to live.
That's the Reverend Lewis here in our conversation about COVID-19. I'm Earl Arms of Milwaukee PBS. My co-moderator here is Arnitta Holiman, licensed professional counselor. We're, like I said, we're in the halfway point of this conversation, but thank you so much for joining us. We're going to try and get to some of your questions in just a bit. So if you have any questions of these panelists, please put them in the chat, and we will get to them as soon as we can. So hopefully we'll leave a few minutes for that. But of course, the other folks that are on the panel, State Representative David Bowen, you've got political consultant Arkesia Jackson, the Reverend Greg Lewis, who you just heard. He's the assistant pastor over at St. Gabriel's Church of God in Christ, and Simmone Kilgore, licensed professional counselor. And actually, I do want to ask the state representative a question because I remember seeing you, Representative Bowen, on CNN in the early stages. So you were almost the face of COVID-19 for a little bit, but I'm wondering how you kind of embraced that role, because you were out there, you were telling people how to, manage and take care of things. So I'm wondering in those early stages how you kind of felt embracing that role as kind of the face of it and being able to tell people about it so early on.
Yeah, I forgot to mention this. In those early stages of the virus spreading, we saw 15 Black deaths all in a row. The very first deaths in Milwaukee County were all middle-aged Black and men and women. And for me, it felt like betrayal, because there was no real preparation to educate our community and get them aware or warn us of the effects and the depth that this virus could have on the people that we love the most, right? Our grandparents, our mothers and fathers that are older, and on young people as well. So, we started to see those effects, and our community has been through so much pain already, and to put this pandemic on top of it, where it clearly exploits all of the disparities that are already affecting us and grows it times 10. It felt like true betrayal. And if there was supposed to be warnings and supposed to be preparation, I thought from those in leadership that knew this was coming, especially at the federal level, and in the White House, I was expecting that we at least could educate our community and make sure people could be aware, and people would take it seriously. I mean, up to the weekend that I got sick, clubs were still open. Restaurants are packed, right? And everybody's still having these large gatherings, especially in our community, because we just did not know. So a lot of that information did not travel down. It did not trickle on down. So it created a conundrum of a really bad case scenario of everybody acting like everything is normal when it really is not. And it did a lot of damage to a number of families. And we continue to see that it's affecting folks in our community much more than white communities as well.
The question I posed to Representative Bowen was about him sort of being the face of COVID-19 because he caught it and he was out there on CNN talking about it early on. I think it was maybe March, April, not sure. But I'm wondering too, Arnitta, if you could talk about when you got it and how it kind of affected the treatment you got and maybe how it affected your mental state also.
Yeah, so it's just a couple of months ago for me. And so much of what was said in terms of, lingering symptoms I've had, for me, the most significant has been the fatigue and brain fog. I recently regained my sense of smell. So I did lose taste and smell, but my taste came back a little sooner, not as robust initially, but I do have my smell back now, which I'm really excited about. But the fatigue and brain fog, I still experience that. And it's difficult because the fatigue can just come out of nowhere. I have moments where I'm like, I feel great. I'm fine. I'm past this. And then it's like, no, I'm down. I need to sit down. I need to lie down. I need to go to sleep, or, having great days and then sleeping for most of the day and not getting out of the bed until the evening of the next day. And so that's really difficult because there's the uncertainty there. I don't know when this is going to happen or not happen, or for how long. And so I know there are a lot of people that are dealing with the lingering symptoms, but it was just a few months ago that I contracted it and I did the quarantine. I mean, technically I was pretty much in isolation anyway, because I don't, I'm working from home now, but I definitely stayed in much longer because of the lingering symptoms I was having.
What about everyone else? I'm kind of wondering, was there any symptoms or anything that came of this diagnosis that you may have not thought? I mean, it's funny to say because COVID-19 is something that none of us have ever had to deal with before, but we've all heard some of the symptoms that you have and some of the things that you may deal with. But was there something that may have caught you off guard or something that you may have not thought of or heard of in the news, but experienced that folks may need to know?
I have two things I want to jump because Arnitta made me remember one in particular. One of the major things for me that was really different, I didn't lose my sense of taste or smell. I didn't have an appetite, and I could smell, but I didn't eat, kind of like Reverend Lewis for weeks. I just didn't want to. Even prior to really thinking that I had the virus, it was coming. It was slowly slipping up towards me. So I didn't have an appetite, but my skin on the back of my hands and my feet, the skin, my back, and I don't mean like muscular pain. I mean to touch my skin I was in so much pain. I was just sore all over, and my gums were sore, and I just was like, "What is this soreness?" It was kind of what Arnitta mentioned is after quarantining and talking to the health department and my doctor, and the 14 days that you stay in or whatever, the fear of going, even though I was supposed to be COVID free or unable to pass it to others, I had the fear of going out again. I didn't want it again. I didn't know for sure if I was able to not give it to others or not. I just didn't believe the news anymore. I didn't believe anything because I wore my mask. I kept my gloves on. I sanitized. I stayed in a lot. I wasn't going anywhere. I was working from home, and I really walked my dog 5 times a day. I always tell people that was my outing, And so the fear of moving on after COVID has left your body, for me, was a major component that I don't talk enough about, but so many people, after they're free from it or over the quarantine period of it and cleared by a doctor, have said, I now don't want to do anything. I never want to feel this again. I don't want to be around people or family. And so for me, that was a major thing. So it took me a long time, you guys. And I still am very leery at times to say, hey, I'll be at this social event. Or even though it's mask didn't work, even though I have a mask and gloves, I just opt out of things.
Yeah.
Yes, I would just like to add, like when I had COVID, well, even before I got it, like I said, my sister had a meeting with the family and just gave us instructions, exercise and do breathing treatment. So yes, the whole family was doing breathing treatments because she told us it was a lung disease. So when I got it and then recovered, everything unusual happened. Like the weakness, like the Reverend said, the extreme fatigue, like we all had, that lingers for a long time. And people didn't understand why some days I'm so exhausted. And you try to tell them, but it's still, I think people have a misconception about the virus. Like they really don't believe all that happens. But sometimes that fatigue would jump in and it's nothing you could do about it. I realized too, after I recovered, some things about me is completely different. Not only the fearful of being around people, which I know I should not be fearful of anything, but just to be around people, I'm not comfortable around people because I'm not sure how I contracted the virus. And another thing that I haven't heard spoken about, one of the side effects, is something that most people don't talk about, like women at childbearing age. At childbearing age, and your body go through a menstrual cycle, that is outstanding. Like I'm looking for reports on what happened to women at childbearing age once they recover or during COVID. Like that is a topic that I really want to be able to read about, because it's something that happens to a woman's body that is puzzling. It's scary, it's puzzling, and that needs to be talked about.
Yeah, thank you, Arkesia. We're getting short on time, but I want to get in just two more questions with you all before we get to the questions in the chat. As we think about the disproportionate effect that COVID-19 has had on communities of color, specifically the Black community, it's interesting, you know, our city's health department was leading the charge in terms of tracking demographic data so that we know who's contracting the virus, who's dying, and at what rates. And so now that we know that, and we see across the country that's happening, you know, where it's being tracked, I'm just wondering, you know, we've learned a lot about the virus, although there's still a lot we don't know. We haven't explored as much around mental health or mental illness as it relates to the virus. And I want to know from your vantage point, your professional background, what your thoughts are around prevention and intervention and healing as it relates to our mental well-being, you know, when someone contracts COVID or they're surrounded by other people who have the virus. Are there specific recommendations that you have? Are there things, you know, policy that you can move forward? Simmone, are there things that you're doing differently with your clients? What do you say around prevention and healing as it relates to our mental health and COVID-19? You're muted, Simmone.
I'm sorry. For the mental piece in particular, just to speak for a few seconds, I think it's important that folks stay as educated as possible. And I know we're being flooded with information, but David mentioned it. It is very important that we read and stay educated and stay up on what's current. We cannot afford to compare our experience with others, but we also do need others' experiences to kind of compare. I don't want to talk about like closing yourself in. Yes, it's good to compare yourself and figure out those symptoms and how they recovered, but you must understand as the individual, you are very different. Some of us have pre-existing conditions, some of us do not. Some of us have age on us, some of us are of our childbearing years. So everyone's experience will be uniquely theirs, number one. But also the mindfulness piece, the learning to do meditation and deep breathing, to practice filling the lungs with oxygen, but also as you do deep breathing exercises, I always guide my clients through, what are you pushing out? What are we breathing out? Are we breathing out fear and doubt? And are we breathing into new health and a renewed sense of being, of my mind? I know the brain is phenomenal. So even though I have some brain fog, I know that the brain in itself has the ability to rebuild itself and build itself even greater. I believe that about my lungs and my kidneys and all of my organs. So making sure that we are mindful of the information that's out there for our mental health, individuals, but also that we are practicing mindfulness and things to help us stay calm and in the moment with those that we love, taking care of your body in a brand new way, so that we can understand that this is something that has never happened to me before. I am supposed to have some of these fears, but also I don't have to be overcome by the fear. So working towards ways to reduce that, the fear, the anxiety, the doubt, and building up your spiritual self, your mental self, and your physical self, whether it be walking, breathing, meditation.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
See, I have on this this shirt. I don't know if you can see it, Tuskegee. And you know, that was one of the things that I thought, you know, when I had this virus, I said, man, why are they not letting these people go to the hospital? Why are they telling my community to just lay there, take Tylenols and drink lots of fluid, and they're dying? So I was kind of thinking that, here they are treating us like this again. And I had, like I said, I had about 6 friends die while I was in ICU. And that was a big issue with me. And, and that's another reason why, I continued to fight, even though I was sick, because, we continue to get treated like this, even during this pandemic. And, I just thought that, the things that we go through in our community, we need to be treated better, no matter what or who you are. You need to get treated better when you have illnesses like this. And the other thing was that I had bronchitis, pneumonia, and lung infection, and I'm diabetic. And, but I didn't know I had pneumonia or a lung infection because I didn't go to the hospital. I didn't go to the doctor when I was feeling a little down. And as professionals, we just keep going, even though, well, I'm feeling a little down. So, I'm cool. We'll just keep it moving. But people, you need to go get checked out. You need to go have those physicals. You need to do all the things that, your wife asked you to do, man. And because we don't like to go to the doctor, because if I had not had all that stuff going on, I may not have been in as bad a shape as I was in. But when I got there, they checked me, man. They was telling me I was going to die. I'm like, I didn't want to hear that unless I heard it from God. But, go get checked up, everybody. Go get a physical, because that pneumonia and bronchitis and that lung infection will cause that COVID to jump all over that, especially if you have something like heart disease, diabetes, and those kind of things. Go get checked out, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Representative Bowen, go ahead.
No, I didn't know if you wanted to switch topics, but I was going to say 2 things. I think it's important to highlight that you don't have to be strong all the time. And, I'm out of town right now, lifting up the life of my amazing Uncle Lynch, one of the strongest men that I know. I can tell you when I had COVID and I barely could stay up, I didn't feel that strong. But it was okay for me to, for the first time, take a break and not do anything. As uncomfortable as it was, I'm just used to keep going. And you could do 100 things miles and 100 miles per hour, but this was the first time that it was necessary, and I felt God saying, "You got to stay here. You got to be in this." So I think that's important, and it's uncomfortable, especially for us that are workaholics, to be able to take a break like that. And then I think also it's important for us to recognize just how much we need to be there for each other, because sometimes it can really feel like that you have to do everything on your own and everything by yourself. But there were some really people that stood in the gap for me, to help me at that time, that stepped up. So I hate the feeling of people worrying about me, or of people feeling like that I need to be worried about. But it was totally fine. It was totally necessary. For people to be able to do that. And I'm thankful and I'm better because of it.
Thank you. Arkesia.
I completely agree with the Reverend, like, go to the doctor. I know I have a family full of nurses, and they're huge champions on wellness and health. But not every family have that type of background. So I encourage people, go to a clinic and just go get checked out. If you haven't had, your glucose level read, your blood pressure read, I encourage people to do that, because it's time that you make yourself a priority, which is always hard to do. Even if you're not a workaholic, you put your family first, you put everyone first. And so I just want to encourage everyone, men and women, to make yourself a priority and take care of your health, because I'm going to tell you, I did not, and I have health insurance, and I did not. I put everyone else first. And when I got sick, it threw a whole wrench in my program, and I had to force myself to become a priority. I had to sit in there, and it made me focus on me and my spirituality. So take care of yourself and make yourself a priority. I just want to end with that.
That's great. You all actually answered my next question already. And so I wanted to talk about surviving COVID and what tips you might give to someone. So you already answered that question. I'll just add that the other piece of that is finding the light, finding the things that are, bring you joy, at least even in a difficult moment. And so for my cousins and I, we had a group chat, we had a group text, and we checked on each other each day. We checked on symptoms, every morning throughout the day, but we also shared jokes and memes, and we shared lists of movies to watch and series to, binge on. And so we made sure that we were inserting something that brought laughter. We made fun of each other, all of those things, and even had those moments where it's like, you need to go to the doctor and get that checked out. And thankfully, one of our cousins is a nurse. So she was, chiming. She didn't have COVID. The rest of us did, but she was chiming in, giving us updates and keeping us well. But it was also really important to have those moments where we could be lighthearted about it. And having that support throughout that process was extremely helpful. So stay connected to the people you love, people that care about you, even when you feel like, I don't want to be a burden, I don't want to be a bother. People want to be there to help you. And so that was definitely something that helped me survive the experience. Earl, I'm going to kick it back to you for questions from the audience.
Yeah, we're going to wrap things up in just a little bit. Not many questions from the audience, but we do have folks that are definitely listening, and thanking all of you for all of your input and for sharing your stories about how you've been able to cope with having COVID-19. So I do want all of you to get to that, because I want to ask all of you why it was important to come on this call, to come on Listen Milwaukee, to get your message out there about COVID-19. All of you are leaders in your respective fields, and I definitely got an answer from Representative Bowen earlier, but I do want to hear from the rest of you and why it's important for each of you to get the word out.
It was definitely important.
Go
ahead.
I was gonna say, I'll start with Arnitta, the co-moderator of this.
Okay. Yeah, so it was important for me because we've had a lot of conversations about COVID, and at work, talking about it, quite frequently in meetings, again, being on air, talking about it. And it was important to have this conversation, because of the way it's affected the Black community. And having also been on Black Nouveau at the, kind of the beginning of this pandemic and talking about the impact of COVID on the Black community, and then later having experienced it for myself, and I knew others that had, I thought it was important for us to have this conversation and really share in a candid way what we experienced. I think sometimes people are very worried and feel like they're not going to get through it, or there are others that think it's, not that serious and downplay it. And I really wanted our community to take this seriously and to know that it's real, it's happening. And when you get it, you can get help and, have the support that you need. But to take it seriously and focus on not just our physical, but also our mental health and well-being.
Arkesia, I guess
it was important for me.
Or Simmone. Either way, it's fine. Either way.
I keep jumping in there. It was important for me, definitely, because of the things that Arnitta mentioned, but also the fact that as a therapist, I was working with people every day, trying to keep them encouraged as they walk through it, or as they walk through with a family member. And so it was important for me to come to this program today and be a part of such a great conversation, because I want people in the community to know that there's life after COVID, and that you don't have to be fearful of it, and that they can talk to a therapist. If you need to reach out to someone and you're really struggling with having COVID, the after effects of COVID, or if your family members have contracted COVID, and those of us who have lost family members due to this virus, people to seek mental health professionals, because we can walk you through all of these emotions that are flooding you all at once. The way that we were introduced to the virus, like David mentioned, Representative Bowen mentioned, in terms of our federal government and our White House and leadership, to the confusion around where it started and how it affected us in particular, like Reverend Lewis mentioned, with our people being disproportionately affected in ways and not seeking the medical attention we need, but also not being offered a medical treatment and professionalism that we deserve historically and currently with the virus. But the mental state and the mental impact it puts on us as a people, we have to remember the multiple layers and the multiple issues that we face as a people in this country. And now smack us heavily with COVID. We need all the mental help and assistance that we can get. And so I really want to encourage people in our community to reach out and seek professional help for your healing, because it's not just the physical. We are one body, mind, body, and soul, one being, and we need help in that area, especially around this issue and some of the things we've had to deal with in terms of not receiving the help we need in this area. So that's really why I wanted to be a part of the conversation.
And Earl, if I may, Simmone, thank you so much for bringing that up around, what we're experiencing in this country, because that was the other thing that was front of mind. It's not just the experience of having COVID and wondering if you're going to live as a result of the virus, but also watching the racial injustices and everything that's happening in the country. And not just, it's that as well as, if I leave my home, will I live, based on what's going on in terms of, again, the racial injustice. And so that is definitely something that weighs on the minds and the hearts of Black folk. And I know that's a part of the stress that people are feeling, and that coupled with COVID-19 can lead to any number of mental health, concerns.
I want to share why I felt it was necessary for me to participate on this panel. Because a lot that when I got it, it was early on, March 27th, when I went to the emergency room, but I was very quiet about my experience. Only a few people know what I endured. And my friends and families like, you should share what you endured, because this is going to help other people. And so you always hear that, but I think it's time for me to start speaking about my experience, that I might be able to support people, to encourage them to take care of themselves. Because we also have to be mindful, like, we have family members that lost their jobs. And I was fortunate enough to still be employed while I endured what the virus and recovering over it. And that's another piece of the stress that we need to be able to continue supporting the community, because a lot of people are unemployed. A lot of neighbors are unemployed, and you making sure they're good and making sure they have food. So I'm talking about it because it's not just the virus and your health, but it's also the whole community and the lack of resources they have. So I felt it was necessary to be a part of this conversation. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. A couple minutes left. We'll go with Representative Bowen, and then the good Reverend, you'll get the last word.
Yeah, I think it was so important to be on here. And first off, thank you guys for inviting us to be able to share our stories. I think a lot of the trust that's built in our community is built on people that we know, people that we can touch and come in contact with. So I think for me, I want to make sure that I really just get across just how important it is for all of us not to underestimate the impact that this virus can have. After the lack of preparation, now we have the chance to have our own decisions of how we support our community to be able to get through this on our own. And those conversations about the historical disparity of the lack of quality, the lack of dignity led healthcare that we've been exposed to, that we've had, all comes ahead as now we have a virus that has a vaccine that we also need to build trust around to ensure that this vaccine was made in a way that takes into account our lives as well. And getting that information to people is so important. So the more that we can have conversations, the more that we can share information, the better. So I always jump at that opportunity since I've seen so much impact from the lack of preparation that got us here in the first place.
Well, I just want to say that I almost died. So people, you better understand that it's all real. And, just watching people in each other's faces and laughing and, talking and all up on each other, all that kind of stuff, that bothers me. So I want people to know, man, this is real and you better pay attention. That's about it.
Gets no realer than that. So appreciate that, Reverend. We'll wrap things up there. We had State Representative David Bowen, political consultant Arkesia Jackson. You just heard the Reverend Greg Lewis, assistant pastor over at St. Gabriel's Church of God in Christ, and Simmone Kilgore, licensed professional counselor, along with the co-moderator Arnitta Holiman. But thank you so much, all of you, for being a part of this Listen Milwaukee. Once again, a community project and partnership between the Ideas Lab of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, WUWM 89.7 FM, Milwaukee's NPR, the Milwaukee Public Library, and Milwaukee PBS. So thank you all so much. Keep the conversation going, please. And for all of you listening, thank you so much. And you keep the conversation going as well.
Earl, is it okay for me to just give one shout out before we?
Please do.
Okay, I definitely want to give a shout out to Benisha Kendrick, who is also a part of the Office of Violence Prevention. She was instrumental in making sure this happened. And on behalf of the Office of Violence Prevention, thank you to Milwaukee PBS, Black Nouveau, Journal Sentinel. Thank you all. And thank you to the panelists for being so willing and open to sharing your experiences. We appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
God bless everyone.
All right. Thank you, guys.